Greetings, St. Barnabas members and friends. We begin with day 2 of our daily meditations. Yesterday, I commended to us the simple forms for prayer for individuals and families, beginning on page 137 of the Book of Common Prayer. There are 4 one-page forms for prayer throughout the day. Today, I want to bring to our attention that on page 136, there are some suggestions and recommendations for enriching or expanding those very simple forms. So I commend that to you, and I had a conversation with our associate, Reverend Robert Barra, today, and Robert said he would love to help you if you need some help in understanding how those recommendations and suggestions on page 136 can be used to enrich or expand these forms, and he'd be happy to talk with you regarding other resources for enriching these very simple forms. So you can contact Reverend Robert by calling the church office and asking for him, and again, he'd really like to work with you, so I encourage you to give him a call. Yesterday, we began with comments on the Lord's Prayer, and particularly the first word of the Lord's Prayer, Abba. Now, I want to point out that the New Testament was written in Greek, and so the first word is actually pater, the Greek word for father, but virtually, or I should say the majority of scholars think that Jesus would have spoken the prayer and taught the prayer in Aramaic, and that word would be Abba. The second word in the Greek text is of us, or obviously we would say our. But and I want to talk about that today, but before I get to it, I want to say that word order is very important in the Greek language, and so that the prayer begins with that word Abba, and again, not just the word, but how that word is the symbol for Jesus' relationship with this God and who he knew his God to be. That he says, when you pray, start with this. Start with naming your God as this God of tender, loving care, this God of intimate connection and closeness with you, this God who is with you in your innermost being. Jesus begins his instruction on prayer with starting there. And then the second word is of us. So I suspect for many of us, we pray the Our Father without pausing to think of that word our. Our Father who art in heaven. We can just go quickly right past it and not give it much thought. Today, I encourage you to pause for a moment and be intentional about this word. Abba of us. God of us. Maybe more than any other time in my lifetime, the reality of my connection with the human family is overwhelming to me. So often when I pray, Abba of us, I bring, in my prayer with me, I bring the St. Barnabas family. I bring my children, our children, our family, our grandchildren. Often I bring our nation. And often I bring the world. And right now especially, the profound connection that I have with every other human being, every other nation. What we do, what I do right now, what we do as a nation has an impact on the world. How people across the globe respond to this coronavirus outbreak affects us all. The reality of our connection with the human family is just washing over us and wanting to get our attention. As much as anything else in our lives, how we respond to this affects us all. And so, what a deep, rich moment for us. Interestingly, from the earliest times, one monastic practice was when the monk came into their time of prayer, and especially their time of silence, they would imagine that they bring the whole human family with them. In fact, one of the ways monastics think of themselves as giving service to their God and to the world is in their prayer, they bring the human family with them. And additionally, our Book of Common Prayer is in fact a monastic book. It comes from the rule of Saint Benedict, who was a monk in the 6th century. And so, and that's the primary source for our Book of Common Prayer. So our prayer book is a monastic book. Our prayer book draws directly upon the monastic practice of entering into the presence of God in solidarity with the human family, bringing the human family with us. I'm reminded of St. Paul's comment in the letter to the Ephesians when he talks about praying. And he says, I bow my knees before the Father, from whom every tribe under heaven derives its name. I bow my knees before the Father, from whom every family, every tribe under heaven derives its name. So today, in this time, I commend to you, when you pray the Our Father, and especially when you pray it in one of these forms in our prayer book, that you pause with that word our. Take a moment, intentionally, realize your connection with the human family. Bring the human family with you in the presence of this God who is with us and for us. Together, let us respond to the great need of our time. Amen.